Hi, I'm Todd Leader. If you're watching this, you've registered for this mini course. It tells me a few things about you. First, it tells me that you notice things that are wrong in the world. You notice people suffering. You notice some of the systemic problems that people are suffering under in this world. You notice racism, sexism, homelessness, violence, conflicts of various kinds. You notice hunger and poverty and all of those things that are causing people to suffer. You notice them. So just for the record, not everybody notices them. Not everybody pays attention to those things in the world. Many people go about their lives, they go about their days, doing their best to ignore those. And they've become quite good at it. Many people are just quite good at pretending that stuff doesn't happen, pretending those things aren't real. So that's one thing that I know about you now. The second thing it tells me about you is that you feel intolerant of those things. You feel passion about them. You feel angry about them. You feel sad about those things. You feel like those things should not exist. People should not have to live in those kinds of conditions. We shouldn't have to have people who are going hungry. We shouldn't have to have intimate partner violence. We shouldn't have to have environmental racism. We shouldn't have to have the climate change problems that we're witnessing. We shouldn't have to have those things. So that's the second thing it tells me about you, is that when you see those things, when you do notice them, which makes you a part of a small group, you feel something. You feel something real about those things that leads you to feel intolerant, like this should not be. This should not be like this. The third thing it tells me about you is that you want to make a difference. That it's not good enough just to notice those things. It's not good enough just to feel passion about those things, to feel intolerant, to feel sad or angry. That's not good enough. It tells me that you want to make a difference in whatever way you can, that you want to learn to be a leader who makes a difference on those issues, or on whichever of those issues happen to be your greatest passion. Many of us have our own individual passions. There are many things in the world that need to change, and we all can't care about or take action about all of those things. But we do tend to each have our areas of passion. There are particular things that trigger those emotions in us. So chances are, I'm kind of stepping on a limb here, but chances are you actually have an issue or two that rise to the top for you, the ones that make you feel the greatest emotions, the greatest passion for doing something. Whatever those issues are, you're obviously motivated to learn how to lead change, to learn how to be a leader who contributes to making a difference on those issues. Now, here's the good news. The good news is that anybody can lead change. Anybody can become a leader. And that might sound surprising, and I'm sure that you could be sitting there thinking, well, anybody other than me. Let me tell you just a little reflection. I've been teaching at university, teaching psychology for more than 3 decades. So I've taught, maybe 12 or 15,000 students over that time. I've taught a lot. And they've been all ages, come from all different backgrounds, all different levels of intelligence and skill. And the one thing that I've found to be fairly common is that there are many, many people who don't believe that they have the ability to make a difference. They believe somehow that the leaders out there, the people who are leading change, the people they see on the internet, the people they see on the news, that those people somehow are different. They're different than me. They have something special about them. They're not just the average person like me. Well, most of those people that I'm referring to are wrong about that. Many people that I talk to about these issues, many of my students over the years, they end up experiencing something that you may have heard of called imposter syndrome. Well, imposter syndrome is when somebody tries to do something like attend college or university perhaps, or participate in a course like this. They feel like they are imposters, like they don't belong there, like they don't fit there somehow. Like somehow one of these days somebody's going to figure out that I don't really belong, that I'm not as smart as all these other people, or that I don't have the skills that these other people have, and I don't really fit. Well, imposter syndrome is an incredibly common thing, and I will tell you that many people experience some of that throughout their entire careers, throughout their entire lives. It's basic self-doubt. That's all it is. It's basic self-doubt. If you have that, don't let that stop you from proceeding with this process you just started. Don't let that stop you. Because the people who lead change in this world, they're not necessarily special people as much as they're people who take special steps to make a difference. They're people who make special efforts to make a difference. They're people who learn the special skills and knowledge that are needed in order to make a difference. They're not special people. People are people. And so, if you feel passion for an issue, which you obviously do or you wouldn't be here, then you are able to be a leader. You are able to become a leader who actually contributes to an improvement in the situation that drives your passion. You are able to do that. Now, if I was wrong about this, and I am wrong about lots of things, trust me, but if I was wrong about this, then really any of those 12 or 15,000 students that I had taught, none of them would ever have achieved anything. And in fact, many of them have gone on to exceptional careers and academic success and doing great things. And many of those people who have had all that success, who are doing great things, many of them are the people who talked with me about feeling insecure, about feeling like they can't do those things. In other words, feeling like they were an imposter, doubting their own potential, and feeling excessively humble about themselves, but to the point of keeping them from moving forward. I've witnessed so many people who don't take action, who don't take the next step, because they simply don't believe that they're one of those special people who can. There we are with special people again. So let me tell you, there is a theory in leadership known as the great person theory. It's been around for a while. It's a basic approach that says that a leader, to be a good leader, you have to be a certain kind of person. You have to be one of those great people. Well, that theory, the evidence does not support it. The empirical evidence, the research does not support that. Great leadership is something that people can learn and develop. And in fact, it's something that people do learn and develop, regardless of whether they're one of those, whatever a great person is or not. So that theory doesn't hold true. So if you're coming into this with some of that thinking, that you have to be a certain kind of person to lead, then that's simply not true. So push that aside, put it in your pocket. Now let's just talk about why you're here. So the reason you're here, I assume, is because of the things I said at the very beginning. Because you look around your neighborhood, your world, you watch the news, you hear things, you see things. They drive you to feel anger and and sadness, and you want to make a difference. Well, this is the beginning of that. The thing that's most important for you to keep in mind now is the why. In other words, the reason that you're exploring this option of becoming a leader, the reason that you want to. That part has to stay in your mind all the time, because that's the thing that tends to drive us, that tends to keep us going, like the Energizer Bunny, for those of you old enough to remember that particular reference. But it is the why. It's the things that we believe are wrong in the world. It's the injustices and the oppression and the systemic discriminations. And it's all of those things that make us feel. That's the stuff that actually gives us the energy. It gives us our sense of direction. It keeps us ethically straight. It helps us understand right and wrong and make good decisions in our leadership attempts. It gives us that motivation to try to make a difference. And there certainly is no such thing as change ever happening if people aren't trying to make that change. It doesn't happen accidentally. The world isn't going to change itself. The world is only going to change if you change it. It's only going to change if I change it. It's only going to change if those of us who feel something about those issues actually try, instead of just talking about it. You know, if you're like me, you've probably spent a lot of time in your life thinking about problems out there, feeling frustrated by problems out there, but not necessarily taking action on them. I've done that many times. But I've also come around to a point, earlier in my life where I realized that the secret to changing the world really is recognizing that one voice, that one person can make the difference, and that anybody can lead. So let me explore those two things. One person can make a difference. Well, there's a well-known anthropologist named Margaret Mead, and she has a very famous quote, and it says, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Well, what that really means is this, that in all of her study of different cultures around the world and major changes that she has recorded or written about, that in all of those cases, the change was started by one or two people, not by the masses, but by one or two people. So let's think about that for a minute. Think about some of the biggest changes that ever happened in the world. Typically what does not happen is you do not get 100,000 people in some culture, in some society, waking up one day and simultaneously thinking, hey, that problem over there is wrong and we need to change it. People do not have those simultaneous mind links. That doesn't happen. But one person does. Many of those people might be thinking about that problem and not doing anything, like we referenced a few minutes ago. So there may be lots of people who are concerned about it. But it takes one person to start saying it out loud and to start calling organizations like governments out on those issues. It takes one person to start to gather momentum, to start to gather other people to feel passion for the issue as well. So if you want to be a leader of change, all you need is your voice. All you need is your passion, and then to learn some skills that you can use to gather other people and to motivate and activate other people. Those are the skills that we're going to work on. So the idea that it takes a lot of people to make change is kind of misleading. You as an individual can lead change. all right? Because we know that one person starting to say it causes other people to start to say it out loud. And then it grows and it grows and it grows. And next thing you know, you actually have major changes in laws in societies, major changes in systemic injustices or problems in the world, because more and more people are saying, we're not going to accept this anymore. But it still starts with simple things like me using my voice somehow. That doesn't mean my actual physical voice. It could be in writing. It could be through art or through drama. It could be through a lot of different means or mediums. The key thing is that I deliver that message in a way that influences other people. And we're going to get at some of that kind of detail. But one person can lead. Now, the question is, are you that one person? Well, my belief is that anybody can lead. There is no such thing as the great person who can lead. That means anybody has the potential. The only question is, what are the skills? What are the pieces of knowledge and the behaviors and the actions and the habits that take an average person, me, you, any one of us, and allow us to be effective at leading? If we know what those skills are, if we know what that knowledge is, if we adopt those habits, if any of us builds those skills and habits and behaviors and thoughts, if we do that, then start to put those things into place, start to use them in our delivery of a message, in our challenging of the status quo. If we simply learn those things and start to use them in the way we push on an issue, in the way we call out governments, in the way we advocate for change, if we use the right skills and behaviors because we've learned them and practiced them, then we are leading. We are then leading, because people will be following. That's what it means to be a leader. We see lots of people, you see lots of people for sure around you. Look at governments and public organizations. You will see lots of people who have been in senior kinds of positions for a very long time, years or decades or entire careers, in positions of influence that they've been hired into in education or in a health authority or in a government department. And really nothing has changed during all of that time, nothing notable. If you were to ask people like that, they would be able to point to all kinds of things that have changed. But, sorry, I'm going to tell you that there are probably small things that are only noticeable to the people within that department or that organization. Real change in society is what leadership is about. Leading change, leading public change, is about actually causing results to happen. You may be managing stuff in a public organization, for instance, in a government department. You may be managing stuff and creating projects and programs and services. There may be lots of that happening so that you can point and say, yeah, I was involved in creating this service and that service. But if nothing has changed for the people that service was meant to serve, then, sorry, you haven't led change. This is where the problem comes in. We have many, many people who believe that management is the same as leadership. It's not. You can be in a management role and be someone who is a leader, absolutely, but you can also be someone who's in a leadership role who spends their time managing. And that really makes a person what I like to refer to as a guardian of the status quo. What we need in the public sector, what we need in our governments, in our health and education and community services and child welfare and all of those areas. What we need in addressing homelessness and poverty and violence, and what we need in addressing all of those things, is leaders. We need people who have learned and adopted the skills and abilities and who put them into place every day. And that means challenging the status quo. That means saying the way things are right now is not good enough, and we need to change it. And I am going to work on changing it. That's what we need. We need leaders. The fact that you're here tells me that you have the key things needed to be a leader of social change, to be a leader of real change in society and in people's lives. Whether you're working within that public sector or you're a volunteer in your community, doesn't matter. The fact that you're here tells me that you see problems, you feel intolerant of those problems, and you are motivated to want to be part of the solution. You are motivated to learn to be a leader and make a difference. So now the question is, what's the next step? Well, you've got the why. You've got that part down pat. Your reason, your motivation for wanting to do this. That's the most important piece, because that's your motivator right there. Now, after this, what are the skills, the behaviors, the pieces of knowledge, the attitudes? What are those things that I've referred to a minute ago that we need to build if we want to be effective leaders? What are those content areas we need to learn more about? What are the skills we need to practice in the mirror at home or with our friends or in our communities? That's what the next course is about. It will walk you through the what. What are the components of you being a leader of social change? How do you build the skills in those particular areas? What are the ways that you actually learn and practice those particular skills? The what pieces of it. Now, it's important that we understand that, these courses are designed for a very specific purpose. There are lots of leadership courses out there that teach you things about, how to manage within a company, within a corporation, that sort of corporate management and leadership type of work. There are very few that get at, how to be a change agent, how to be one of the people that addresses social change as a leader. That's what this is about. If you feel that passion because you see those things and you want to be part of the solution, then register for the next course, learn about the what. You've got the why, learn about the what. Learn what are the skills and abilities, that some of which you may already have, some of which you may need to learn or practice a little bit or a lot. We're all very different that way. But learn what those things are. And then you can go the next step and learn how to develop those skills in yourself. And the next thing you know, you're one of the people responsible for changing lives. You're one of the people responsible for reducing poverty and hunger and homelessness and violence and racism and sexism and climate change. And you're one of the people who contributed as a leader of those very real changes in the lives of very real people. I hope to see you in the next course.